Morning, Topolis. What's happening, friend? Thank you, Coogan Art. Yeah, no, it's been a good week for me, mate. I'm making some very good progress on this project. And had an awesome day with little Hugo yesterday. And my girlfriend was there too. Yeah, so we're 4 models down out of a 6 model diorama. They're not finished. None of them are finished. Well, one's pretty close to finished. Well, 2 are close to finished. I'll show them off a bit later. G'day, Alex MF. So, some good progress, as I said. But yeah, we're still a fair way off finishing because the base has a lot of work that I need to do on it, and I think that's going to be the thing that crushes my spirit, actually, is the base, which is just behind me at the moment. So this particular model, this elf, he sits right in the middle of the diorama, and I want him to feel quite separate from the rest of the colour palettes. So I'm going to use whites and golds for this guy. And yeah, I want him to feel distinct. Yes, that's me. What a specimen. This is the elf that sits at the front of the diorama. Is my diorama picture still up at the moment? Yeah, he's part of the diorama. No, that's Bucks's model. Let me just get you the diorama picture. Well, me the diorama picture so I can talk to it. because we may do a bit of an assembly in this stream. So yeah, you can see that dude at the front there is holding onto the elf. Yeah, so he's a very central component. So we need him to be something of a focal point. Yeah, he's not going to have a good time. It'll mostly come from the way I paint the eyes, I think. Might be time to switch to a new brush, I think. This brush is absolutely cooked, but it is good for textured stuff, but I don't really want this dude to be too textured. It's time. I'm actually very excited about painting the gold. I feel like I had a bit of a breakthrough with gold on my last piece, the Uther. Should be good indeed. Could also do some bags under his eyes. I think that'll help with his tortured expression. Indeed, yeah, just a different colour palette, mate. So slightly different skin tone, more pale, golds and whites, so that he stands out from the greens, rusty silvers the rest of the piece has. Potentially. I'm not going to... At this point in time, it's very hard for me to visualise how the whole piece is going to look together. So what we're trying to do at this stage is get every element progressed far enough that we can view the piece as a whole and establish some directions that we want to take things. There may be elements of the piece that are working really well, and we may look at the whole piece and go, oh wow, that looks shit house. We need to tweak something with that colour palette, or that's why I haven't tried not to progress too far with each model. Just get to a certain stage, but I also get a bit carried away sometimes because I get excited. It is a motivation, but it's also probably one of my weaknesses. If I was better at figuring out how things were going to turn out, I could probably make better decisions. Save time. Indeed. Alright, you all know what time it is. It's airbrush time. Woo! It's how we turn Deno from an average painter into a slightly less than average painter. Woo! Alright. Well, I guess it would be nice if I could touch your body. I know not everybody's got a body like you. So I gotta think twice before you put my heart away. I know not all the games you play, 'cause I play them too. Oh, but when I need some time off from that emotion, try to pick my heart back off the floor. Oh, baby, I reconsider my foolish notion. So we're going to lean more into the pinkish skin tone for this guy. Oh no, oh no, oh no, 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 no. Alright. Enough airbrush. gold. These will be gold. G'day Wampa. What's going on? Ah yes, does it get the Wampasaurus seal of approval? Very good. I have never seen any Dune films, read any Dune books, or had any knowledge of the franchise other than the expression "the spice must flow" and that there are big sandworm things. It's on my list. I'll get around to it at some point. Great question, mate. Here it is. Woo. So I may just show off some of the other ones now. So this is the current progress of the diorama. So this is the dude we first started on, and this one may not fit on the screen, but we'll do our best. Ah yes, there we go. So this is the battle cat. So there's a fair bit to do left on this guy. Like, I'm not finished with the dude riding the critter yet, and obviously this stick needs to be painted. And when placing this alongside some of the other creatures or some of the other models, I feel like we need to probably take the highlighting on the skin and the fur just a little bit higher. So that's the first one. This is the second one, so this one's also non-completed. And the skin tone's a very pale greenish tone, which is sort of what I was going for, and I'll need to probably do some tweaking on that, but yeah, pretty happy with progress on him. We need to obviously establish his cloak and all the little knickknacks and doodads, but happy with him. This dude, most of you would remember some of you remember I started, but done a lot more work on this chap now. So he's a lot more progressed. Yeah, happy with him. And this is the dude I started last night. So the problem I've got with this guy is his skin tone. This is the dude holding the elf. I've got a problem with the skin tone. It's gone too warm. I need to make it greener. So that's an easy fix, relatively easy fix. So, but I wanted to establish some colours on this elf first, so I could put the two side by side before working where I want to go with it. So there you go. Progress. Indeed, it's getting there. But as I said, the base is the element that's probably got the most work to do. It needs to be interesting and engaging without overtaking the rest of the figures. So, and I've got lots of little nerdlings to paint. I was actually contemplating doing nerdlings today, but I need to establish what's going on with this guy. So. G'day Macca Builds, what's going on, champion? Wow. We're back ready to go. All right. So we want pun expected. I watched some of your stream with Still a Rebel yesterday. Maka, I'm very good, mate. I'm always very good. Yeah. I've done a couple of streams where I had people on with Discord. I don't think I can give you any good advice actually. Just worked. But I do think, and this will sound probably very unprofessional of me, I do think the reason why my audio is captured on my recordings is not because I've managed to add that audio to the stream, but because of the speakers. I think the audio is coming through the speakers because I don't use microphones, or headphones, sorry. So I think the audio that I record for my stream is actually the speakers. G'day Wavy DL, what's going on, champion? Alright, for those legends just joining the stream, this is what I'm working on. It's a very big diorama. There's 6 different models, plus a lot of nurglings, plus a lot of base and shit. So it's a ambitious build. Although not as ambitious as some that I've done. Ambitious enough, I suppose. Let's hope it looks as good as it does in your imagination when I've finished it. I'm a bit less confident at the moment. yeah, the thing that's concerning me is the base, so maybe I need to do some work on that today. See if I can progress that. If we can get some activity on that, maybe I'll feel a little bit better about where everything else is heading. Yeah, I think I talked about this on my last stream, but staying motivated on a project like this is usually the thing that will determine how good an end result you have. There's a lot of moving parts to this diorama, and if one of these moving parts comes out shit, and the whole thing will suffer for it. So you've got to be able to find your mojo to keep going even when you're perhaps not as enthusiastic about a piece. Like, I was very enthusiastic about painting this particular piece. I've saved my favourite ones till the end, but going back in and making... Am I real quiet? I'm probably just talking quiet because it's early in the morning for me. Alright. Now, for the next step of gold. Always believe in gold. Might switch to the tiny brush. G'day Stonebeard Jim. What's happening, my friend? Should all go and buy your products from Jim. Deck Knight, thank you for the follow, mate. Especially if you're in Australia. Stonebeardminiatures.com. Thank you, Jamo52. Welcome. So this particular element is an interesting one to paint with non-metallic metal because you've got a lot of additional texture detail. So we need to balance the overall visual look versus the individual components. So if you focus too much on highlighting the individual elements, and what you'll get is this very disjointed looking shoulder pad. But if you focus too much on the whole element and not treating it those little pieces as individuals, then it doesn't look right either. So it's a balancing act between painting the detail and painting the whole piece, if that makes sense. I'm going to show off my wizard again. I'm very happy with my wizard. It was a model I wasn't pumped on. Here he is. I was angry about this model when I started painting it on stream, but yeah, we've managed to get it looking pretty good, I think. Interesting colours. Different colour palette to what I normally go for. I can do whatever I want, mate. I can show people my wizard. He's probably the most progressed of all of the figures in the diorama now. We will do a full assembly today of everything on the diorama at the end of the stream, and we'll start to look at it a little bit holistically and then establish where we need to make changes. In the meantime, enjoy watching me paint this gold. Yes, Jimbo, there is indeed, mate. Touched on a little earlier, but we want to have this particular chap sort of be the focal point, because he's really the story of the piece. Hello, Stevie. This chap is in for a bad time. So we're going to have him be different colour palette to the rest of the piece. So he's going to be golds, whites, and very pale skin tone, whereas the rest of the piece is rusty metals, greens, and warm colours. So this dude should provide a whole contrast to the whole rest of the piece completely. Theoretically. The only risk is for him to not feel a part of the environment. So I think we'll go for the white robes, but then we will dirty them up a bit. But again, we need to establish the rest of the piece first. Like, it's so hard to make decisions about, oh, I need more focus here, I need more value there, this is too cold, this is too warm, you know, those sorts of things, without looking at everything relative to each other. And you don't normally have to think about that with respect to other models. Normally you can just look at a single piece and go, yeah, this needs a little bit more value, and you can just, you know, answer your questions as you're going. But fucking 6 models on this diorama, what a dickhead. Like, if you want to get very, very, very technical, this is more challenging than Camelot. Because this is 6 models on one base. Camelot was only ever 3 or 4 models maximum on a single base. Actually, I think I had 3 was the most on any one. G'day, Nates. So I have picked a light source. Again, this comes down to sort of diorama and thought process. With a project of this scale, what I'm trying to do is simplify the decision making, if you will. So I'm just going with a very traditional top left lighting, so that it's not really something I have to be thinking about a lot. All right. It's a material I bought from Officeworks. It's called Sculpt It. It's a pretty big deal in the diorama making community. A lot of the pro diorama guys use it. Luke Towan and those sorts of chaps. I found it okay. It's significantly better for big projects because it fills a large space cheaply. Doesn't have the same level of control as the sculpting itself has. Yeah, it's like a milli putt. Yeah. Yeah, I bought it for Camelot and it worked out reasonably well. It has this very clumpy texture which I've used without sort of tweaking too much because I feel like it looks like sort of rocky bits, but I'm getting less enthusiastic about that appearance based on, if you look at this wall in the background, on the where you can't really see it because Dickhead's in the way, but I don't really like how the wall looks. Maybe I'll get a picture of the base painted. And it's important to remember the dude's standing in front of it, but you know, it looks a bit clumpy. It's not too bad, I guess. A little bit more progressed than that on the base. Always believe in your gold. Now that you're bound to return, it's something you should learn. You're indestructible. Always believe in gold. I stand by my don't paint the back motto on this base, on this figure. This is one where the back of the figure is definitely not required. But we may have to, depending on the angles. Again, hard to know until we put it all together. Well, I think part of the issue with my my usage of it is I haven't really mucked around with it a lot, because I've watched diorama videos where the guys have actually smoothed it out with their fingers and it's smooth, completely smooth. You just have to be patient and wait for it to get to that curing point, and I've not done that. I've just been like, put that shit on. But the type of things that those chaps were doing with it wasn't really very similar to what I was doing. They were doing large, flat areas. So I mean, I would recommend that product. I'm happy to say, yeah, give it a crack, but not as, yeah, a decent amount of working time. Decent amount. I'm not sure if this model was painted for the Kickstarter actually. I don't think anyone painted it. They just painted the shield version. To my knowledge, it will destroy the resin or plastic. I've not tried it, but I know Rafa, when he sculpted a piece that was an add-on to a resin piece, he had to separate the two elements to fire the Super Sculpey in the oven. I see you. Still not looking like gold yet, team. Soon. Hopefully the next layer it'll start to look a little bit like gold. Right, here we go. Boom, 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 boom. Moment of truth. Yeah. Green armor, I think, is the go for him. Probably the issue that I've got with this guy at the moment. He doesn't look nurgly enough. He's too he's too angry and the skin tone's too warm, so I've got to fix him. But I wanted to do that in relation to this guy. Oh, it's time to get some gold. It's beginning to look a lot like Christmas everywhere you go, and the prettiest sight you'll see is the holly that will be on your own front door. I would be so bad without an airbrush at this point. But we can do some cool airbrush tricks to just make this all look a little bit better. Well, they're not really tricks, I suppose, it's just normal airbrushing, but I'm usually a fair bit more boring on my Sunday morning streams, friends, so I apologise if you're expecting me to be very enthusiastic. Come to my Party Monday streams if you want to see me being very enthusiastic. Yes, the Party Monday karaoke scene is popping. G'day, Necromancer. Stevie, you're welcome to come over any time and join me. Alright. I was hoping this would make it look more like gold. It hasn't. But that's not unusual. Non-metallic metal usually doesn't look good until the very last pop highlights. I will. Alright, real moment of truth. So I tend to lose a lot of my colour when I'm doing non-metallic metal, my intensity of colour. However, this is actually a yellow, and this yellow looks white, so that's a good sign. But we probably will still add some more yellow back in, I think. Took an airbrush glaze of yellow over the top. Nope, this is cold yellow from Chimera, plus flat or deep yellow from Vallejo, and a little bit of the Sunray. So it's got a little bit of ice yellow in there, but it's mostly more yellow. Alright, it's looking goldish. Probably do just want to have a little bit more yellow in there. Alright, you're looking very zoomed in, so. And these gems are also distracting because I haven't highlighted those, so they're making everything look a lot more disjointed. So I'm going to whip out the airbrush after this. I'm just going to do a couple of very, very fine bursts of this yellow colour. And we're going to try and use that to just create that sense that this is all one piece. And then we'll also, g'day Robbie's Hobbies, and then we'll also do a fine yellow ink contrast paint. It should make everything pop and look good. And then we'll come back in with this colour again and do some highlights. Everybody was kung fu fighting. Those kicks were fast as lightning. In fact, it was a little bit frightening. Had a ball with expert timing. Oh, oh. He's a funky Chinaman. Funky Chinatown. So at the moment, what's sort of not working for me is the level of contrast between dark and light. We've got too much dark, and so that's what'll be the airbrush will help us with. How good's Rebellion, by the way? I love Rebellion. I've heard good things about Summon Wars, but I haven't played it. Well, it's hard sometimes. You gotta hide your base in a good spot. That's a game of knowing your opponent as opposed to knowing the rules of the game. If your opponent knows the way you think, you can be cooked very, very early on. You spend the whole game running. It's hard to win like that. You rebel scum. Yeah, I think I actually prefer to play as the Empire as well. Didn't realise we were quite that zoomed in. Let's zoom out a bit. Emriku! Thank you. Oh, it feels way different. Thank you for the raid, mate. I haven't set up my shout-outs yet, but someone will... everyone should just go follow Emriku. G'day Epimay, g'day Left Pulse. What's happening? Let me give you a little bit of context over what I'm doing here, friends. So I am working on a pretty big diorama, which looks like this. G'day Jet. So this is what the diorama looks like. So it's 6 models, pretty big. So I've done some work on some of them, so let's show you them one by one. This one's the hardest one for you to see. This is a big giant cat guy. Here's a scale. Got a bit of work to do left on him. He's massive though. This guy sitting on top. Still some work to go on him. Need to smooth out skin tone and add some more richness. G'day the paint house. This one I started last night, so he's a little bit more progressed, but still a lot of work to go on him. This one's the most progressed so far, which is the wizard. The wizard. Yeah, Battle Cat. That's exactly what it looks like, eh? Battle Cat. Thank you. And yeah, the base is back here, so I've done some work on the base. But anyway, I'm chipping away on this little by little. As I'm sure you can imagine, a piece of this size takes time. So we'll just keep chipping away. Over the next week or two, we'll hopefully start to see things come together. Thank you, the Paint House, for following. So yes, if you have any questions, feel free to send them my way. Answer them if I can. It varies from piece to piece because of a few things. The main one being the environment. So sometimes I'll want a gold that feels a lot more warm, sometimes I want a gold that'll feel a lot more cold. But in this instance I'm using a fairly standard recipe. It is red oxide from Chimera Paints, and so red oxide, warm yellow, cold yellow, sunray, all from Chimera, and I'm about to add some contrast paints and other airbrush tricks into it. But yeah, it's sort of pretty generic at this point in time. You're welcome. Thank you again for the raid. So everything looks fairly rough at the moment. Hopefully when I do some airbrush, everything will start to look a little bit more refined. He says hopefully. Usually does. I make that joke pretty much every time. as if I don't have confidence in my airbrush abilities. I do. It will be okay. Thank you, Toshix, for following. Alright, let's do some airbrush, I think. Alright, so what we're trying to do with this airbrush is pretty tricky. So we're going to take a mixture of the yellowy colour, so it is the yellow, so the intent for what we're about to do is to make this look like metal, the way that metal reflects light. So you can see how intense the colour is. It's not very intense. So we're going to try and focus this spray along the lines of light. It's going to catch a little bit of overspray on the other areas, and that's fine, because what it's going to do is bring all of these bits together to make it look like one single volume, as opposed to the So it's sort of, I feel like it actually has a pretty significant impact, but not done yet. This is a Iwata HBB+, which I think is the Eclipse, maybe? No, it's not the Eclipse. Not sure, mate. It's an Iwata. Alright, so that's the first step. So as you can see, just doing that has really changed up all the work that I did and made it look less like... Thank you, Skalgul. Yep, so we've made it look less like different components. So what we're going to do now is we're going to use a yellow contrast paint. And this is going to really punch up the intensity of the colour. So we're going to use Iandin yellow, which is a yellow, obviously. So the contrast paints are transparent, which is exactly what we want from this. We don't want it to be something that covers over the work we've done. Thanks, buddy. Enjoy. Because if we cover over the, if we use a solid colour, then what happens is we start to reduce all of this work that we've done. And we lose the contrast, the value contrast. So as you can see, we're starting to look a lot more like gold. So I'm going to add some orange with Gryph-hound orange as well, just in the stuff. So I just want to add some nuances of colour. Okay. So there you go. That's getting significantly closer to looking like gold now. So now we're going to go back in with the other colours we've been tweaking around with. Just hair dry that, make sure it's dried. So what we want to do now is really add the lights back in. And then we may tweak with some sort of glazes and what have you to muck around with the colour. So let's see how this looks. Just going to do this . No one knows the wicked. Cool. So the very final step will just be some more highlights with like a pure ice yellow to really pop. Yeah, I think that looks pretty good. It's not a foolproof technique, friends. Like, it doesn't just immediately look great. You usually need to do a fair bit of refining with your brush. But the thing that I think is really important about and what I do with that is it just softens. It softens the colours, because metal is has that that smooth, burnished, reflective feel, and it's very hard to replicate that with a brush in a quick amount of time anyway. Like you can, but anybody got time for that? So this way you sort of get to get the best of both worlds. You get the speed of the airbrush, and afterwards we'll continue to work with the environmental colours as well. We'll probably add some greens into the gold using the airbrush from underneath, which should look cool. Alright, we're definitely cooking with gas now. Hey Plank. This is the most annoying thing. Yeah, no, it's just, well, everything should be fine with the audio, but you're the second person who said the audio is run. It's just early morning, mate. Just 9 AM on a Sunday morning. This is my favourite bit that I did. Alright, cool. Good work, team. Some great looking gold. Okay, let's do some white looking bits. Okay, so for white, we want it to be a cold white. So we want to use this sort of colour. So it's also got a bit of green in it. Thanks, Top. Couldn't have done it without you, mate. Mate, give yourself some credit. I'm starting to get excited about putting the whole piece together now. It's the time. Yeah. Should be interesting to see how it all looks. I expect it's probably not going to look very good. Because this will be the first time that we've really brought all the elements together. Haven't really considered them holistically enough, so I do expect it to be a little bit on the shit house side. But we can tweak and refine from there. Why you get so many rogues, my guy? Seriously, stop what you're doing. Wear less robes. What's everyone's position on elves? My best friend Koki's one of those guys who's just doesn't matter what game we play. He's always, give me the dwarves. I want to play the dwarves. And so, invariably, I end up with the elves. Which is actually okay, because I like elves. I was very successful with wood elves in Warhammer Fantasy. I always wanted to play dark elves, but I never did. But yeah, I really like the elven aesthetic. One of my favourite scenes in the making of The Lord of the Rings is the bit where John Howe and Alan Lee sit down and draw Rivendell, and how they make Rivendell using the natural environment. Yeah, that's Koki. He's just obsessed with dwarves. The thing I think is great about elves is less about their race and more about how cool their aesthetic is. Like, how good is all of the shapes, the fluidity of the shapes. Dwarves very geometric. Elves, you get these incredible flowing colours. It's great. Alright, so after we've done this greeny colour, we're going to move into this colour, which is pastel green. But we're going to add a little bit of this Chimera cloudy sky, I think. Yeah, no one cares about them. Oh, we're a fucking flying race, we're immortal. Whatever, idiots. Fuck off. But check out your cool curvy swords. Whoosh, whoosh. Fuck yeah. My last D&D character was an elf, actually. I played an elven cleric. His name was Alandir. Gnome wizard? Yeah, okay. Fucking hate gnomes. Stupid race. You know what it is about gnomes that pisses me off? They're just dwarves and halflings put together. Nobody wants that. Nobody wants that. Painting white. Jeez, it's difficult sometimes. So what we're going to try and do is paint white without painting white. Again, we're going to have some glorious airbrushing later on. But once again, remind you that I all can't paint without an airbrush. I really need to do a non-airbrush challenge at some point. What are we going to paint next after this? I'm not sure. I haven't thought about it. Well, yeah, let's have a little break and have a look, shall we? The Nocturna dudes we're going to use for the Orc diorama eventually when I get around to that, but that guy's not a part of the Orc diorama, so we could do this Minotaur. We've got Morrigan, which I haven't painted yet. Thanatos, which I haven't painted yet. We've got this FER 3 models thing. That could be cool. I'd like to, actually I might do one of the Ignis Art ones. Yeah, the Journeyman Morrigan. I haven't done any of the Ignis Art, I haven't painted any of their figures, so maybe we'll do an Ignis sculpt. I bought 4 of them the other week. Got some Hera models busts. Grunkful. Yeah, I think we'll do an Ignis. G'day, Jetskin. I am painting an elf. This elf. See ya, Wampa. Yep, we'll paint an Ignis sculpt. We'll decide later on. G'day, MK Finder. What's happening, champion? He's not actually having too much of a good time, really. The poor chap. He's about to get murdered by some Nurgle Chaos Warriors. It's a big old Chaos Warrior hand. They are, mate. They are. Like, think about it. What is their attribute that no other race has? They're short. Cool. They're inventors and creators, mate. That's fucking dwarves. Dwarves were that way before gnomes ever did any of that shit. They're like tricksy little fuckers, mate. That's halflings. Seriously. Fuck off. Fuck off back to wherever you're from, Gnome Town. Oh, thanks, Jetskin. Well, I've been streaming for an hour and 53 minutes, so you can, when this stream finishes, you can go back and watch how I did it, because it's all been done on stream. I do like dwarves. No, I do like dwarves. Just not as much as my mate Koki. I actually like playing dwarves in D&D. I don't usually like them in competitive games because I find speed is the attribute that I most desire. Yeah, I just hate gnomes. Thank you, Jetskin. I hope you would do as well. Yes, Topulus. Not just painting speed. I'm all about movement attributes in board games and miniature games. Not yet played a game where movement wasn't the absolute key to everything. Alright. So we'll again go a little bit of this cloudy sky. A little bit of this pastel green. Get a lighter colour. I may switch to a smaller brush in a second perhaps. Let's see. Not for the moment. I do remember that female monk. Great figure. Assuming you're talking about the King of Death one. I tend to get pretty agitated about monks as well. My mate Koki, who was our DM for a while, who's the dwarf guy, knows how much I hate monks and knows how much I hate gnomes. So when I said I was going to play it, I was going to DM a campaign, he was like, cool, I'm playing a gnome monk. I haven't DM'd the campaign. Because of that bullshit. Because of that bullshittery. So Topulus, there's two things, mate. First of all, attributes and game effectiveness is one element. And I acknowledge that monks in game have a lot of cool abilities. What annoys me about monks is that exactly what MK Finder just said. They shouldn't exist in the types of worlds that I'm adventuring in. And maybe that's a strong statement. I find that they take me out of the magic experience. We played a Legend of the Five Rings campaign many years ago, and we had a monk, and it was awesome. And I was like, this guy's fucking mad. I was a generic fighter with a Naginata, but in a normal fantasy world, I just find it takes me out of the game. Psionics exactly the same, mate. Don't like them. However, put me in Dark Sun, and I'm all about that shit. Just got to feel right for the world. And the types of worlds that I enjoy playing in. Very rarely do psionics or monks feel like they fit. Yeah, monks are fine in that Legend of the Five Rings. Awesome. I love Dragon Ball. Spelljammer, yeah, Gith Yankee and stuff. So back when I was a young school kid, I used to love, had a subscription to Dragon magazine and Dungeon magazine. That was back in the day when you used to get subscriptions and they get delivered to your house. Remember those days? Fucking hell. I forgot about this. And I was just obsessed. Like, I love reading every week, every month they'd come, I'd be super jazzed. Well, they cancelled the subscription because they stopped producing Dragon magazine and Dungeon magazine, and they replaced it with a campaign series which back in the day was called Pathfinder. And that's this far back, for those of you who are not familiar with this. Basically, Pathfinder was the name of an adventure module that was 6 issues long, and it would detail a full adventure with everything, with cool artwork. The first one, I believe, was called Rise of the Rune Lords. Anyway, this whole thing is what triggered the release of Pathfinder after D&D 4th edition was released. That people from Paizo Publishing were like, well, we've just done all this fucking material and your game's no longer the same, so we're going to re-release all your 3rd edition stuff and call it Pathfinder, which is great. What a very kind man you are, Plank. But this one time I was at school, and I used to have to catch the train into the city to this comic book store to be able to buy older editions of Dragon or Dungeon before my subscription days. And so one time Pathfinder should be good. Practice, mate. Practice, just like anything else. Alright, we will switch to a better brush now. Yeah, so one day I was at school, and I decided to jump off the roof at school. There's a bit more to the story, but I was on the roof getting a tennis ball, and one of my mates was like, "Wait, don't jump down." It was like almost a 2-story building, and I said, "Okay." I don't know why, but I did. So then I fucked up both of my heels really badly. I landed on my heels. And that was in the lunch break, and I could barely walk. But I had set myself up that day. I told my mum and dad I'm going to the city to get my Dragon magazine. And I didn't want to not go and get my Dragon magazine. So I dead set, could barely walk. I walked down to the train station from school, because our school had a train station basically attached to it. So I walked down to the train station, got on the train, took the 40-minute train ride into the city, got off the train, struggled my way, thanks Pictol, struggled my way to the comic book store, bought my Dragon magazine, struggled my way back to the train station, went all the way back to school, walked from the train to my bike, where my bike was, because I used to ride my bike to school, and then ride home. This whole process would normally have taken, I would have got home at, I don't know, school finished at like 3 o'clock, 40 minutes in, 40 minutes back, maybe like 5:30. It was almost 7 o'clock before I got home, because the walk from each of those places, wow. I was hobbling. This is back in an era of no mobile phones, so my mum was panicked. She was like, "What the fuck? Where have you been? was like, oh, I just went in to get my magazine. I told you about that. She's like, yeah, very late. I said, yeah, sorry. And then I had the next 4 days off. Well, mate, I have no idea. That's how passionate I was about fucking Dungeons and Dragons back in my school days. I had the next 3 days off. I went to the doctor, and the doctor, he said something that stuck with me. I was in like grade fucking 5 or something. My doctor said something to me that I still laugh at to this day. He goes, something I need you to remember, Trent. I said, yes, Dr. Grant. He goes, the heels don't heal. Ha, 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 ha. Anyway, it cracked me up at the time. But yeah, apparently your heels take ages to get better. He said you would have been better off landing on your leg and breaking your leg, because that's at least going to fix itself. They're fine though. Look, I wasn't always the sharpest kid in school. I did a lot of stupid things. The Deno that you all know now is a far cry from the Deno back then. Of course, you can post an Instagram link wavy. If you'd like feedback, mate, I'm able to do so, but if you just want to share it and because you're excited about it, feel free. Oh yeah. All the time. Shit, only like less than 3 weeks now till Wheel of Time comes out on Amazon. Boo, 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 boo. Flail Snail. Hello, Pardus Prime, welcome. I'm painting a little elf miniature for a very big diorama I'm working on. G'day, TJ. What food are you making, Pardus? We'll be putting together the diorama soon, so that should be interesting. Oh, awesome. I love jalapeno poppers. Sometimes they're a bit spicy for me. So for everyone following along at home on my TV journey, I'm sure you'll love me talking about the TV shows that I'm watching. Well, my girlfriend and I recently watched Derry Girls on Netflix, which was actually quite amusing. So recommend that. We started watching Schitt's Creek. Derry, D-E-R-R-Y. It's about some young teenage girls who live in the Irish town of Derry during the 90s, which is when the war between the Protestants and the IRA and all that sort of stuff was going on. So it's just a snapshot of life during that era. It's quite a good show, quite funny. There is another season due to be made, but it's not been made yet. Yeah, Schitt's Creek. My girlfriend and I, she's watched it all on my recommendation because I'd seen about, I reckon, 10, 15 episodes. I was like, that's a fucking great show. But I never got around to finishing it. But yeah, we've restarted watching it now from the beginning, and I'm very excited to finish it because I think the show's finished now. Yeah, it wasn't a good time. Awesome. The Troubles, yes, The Troubles. So that's what I'm watching with my girlfriend. Derry Girls, Schitt's Creek, amazing. I finished watching Titans Season 2. Season 3 hasn't come out on Netflix in Australia yet. Hopefully it will do, because I enjoyed that a lot. Particularly liked Dick Grayson's character. Thought he was excellent. And then I promised one of the people I met on this stream, $2, that I'd watch a TV show on Stan called Black Sails. So I started watching that a couple of nights ago. I'm now at episode 9. It's pretty awesome. It's pretty awesome. I'm very excited. Mandalorian is on the list. I will get around to Mandalorian. Alright, last highlight we're going to do is going to be this pure greeny colour. Tiny little bit of white. Yeah, that's also on my list, the Irregulars actually. Looks pretty cool. Worth watching. They nearly lost me on Titans actually, because the end of season 1 was so bad. Season 2 more than made up for it. And what I've heard is that season 3 is the best of the Titans series, so I look forward to that being released in Australia. Yeah, the ending of season 1, or should I say the first episode of season 2, which is quite clearly originally intended to be the ending of season 1, but for some fucking reason they decided to push it. Yeah, are you enjoying it? Have you enjoyed it? Worth watching? Cool. Yep. I'll put that on my list. Just waiting till the moment strikes when I decide to watch it. Because I felt the same way about Shadow and Bone, and I was like, oh yeah, I'll get around to watching it at some point. And the moment struck me the other day, and I watched the entire season in one day. And I enjoyed it very much. So no doubt I'll feel the same way about the Irregulars. Oof. That's another one that's on my list. Everyone recommends The Expanse to me. Was it a bit intense, season 5? Has anyone watched that Another Life with Starbuck on Netflix? Is that any good? Right. Good indicator that it was probably an excellent show. Ah, that is annoying actually. The Wheel of Time, they actually recast one of the main characters for season 2, even though season 1 hasn't happened yet. And I believe the word on the street is for that reason. Some illegal activity of some description. Alright, let's whip out the old airbrush. Make Big Dino look good. Okay, so we're going to airbrush with a white, first of all. But it's an off-white. I'm going to mix a little bit of that pastel green into it. G'day, Freckstar. Well, my friend, on which element are you referring to? On the thing I'm about to airbrush? It's off-white with a little bit of green. Jetskin, so what I'm doing here, so I'm using this colour. It's a pale white colour. And what I'm doing is I'm airbrushing over these areas that I highlighted with my brush. So what it does is it creates a softening effect, and it actually smooths out the roughness of my highlights and makes them look a little bit more like I can paint good. No, not at all. So that's the first step of what I'm doing. So that's smoothed out all of my very bad painting. So now I'm going to do some colour to give the white some visual interest. And we're going to use a green for that, I think. Yeah, let's use Dark Angel's green contrast paint. Should be interesting. The brand of the colours, so it's Vallejo was the off-white, and pastel green is AK 3rd generation. And I'm about to use a Citadel contrast paint now. This one may be a little bit crazy, but we'll just be a little bit careful with it, I guess. Yeah, generally speaking, my palette, I use any colour that I feel like. If I want a specific effect, it'll usually be because I want to use a certain colour. I don't have a brand that I use more than any others. I mean, maybe Vallejo, maybe Chimera, maybe contrast paints actually, but usually I am just an equal opportunity employer when it comes to colours. I'm going to add some blue. Yeah, Chimera, got a lot of those, use a lot of those. Heavy bodies I don't use so much, but is there something you would like me to do to show you the dilution better, Jimbo? So here is my dilution that I'm about to use. I don't know if that helps or not. But keep in mind that the dilution is less important because, well, the dilution is important, but there's always control of the airbrush elements that comes into. Alright, I think we'll call that a day. And what we're going to do now is just re-add in some of the dark shadow lines. Haha, see you, MK. It's sort of mostly in the shadows, yeah, but I'm putting it in a lot of areas. I'm about 15 psi I thought, maybe 15 to 20. I haven't used it all over the robes. I've tried to keep it in specific locations. So I'm going to just use a dark greenish grey now. I didn't use it all over. I'm just going to pop these lines back in so you can clearly see where the clothes are separate. The first thing I wanted to do when doing that was smooth the highlights. The second thing I wanted to do was just add some interest, a little something that wasn't happening before. Sometimes when you use the airbrush you can lose the contrast, the depth of colour. So for example on here, what we've lost is a really defined shadow. That was a bit excessive. Probably would have liked slightly less than that, but that'll be fine. Okay, cool. So now we're going to do black trim around here, fill in some of the rest of the black bits, and we will be in pretty good shape, I think. I don't like using just black. Most of the time I'll mix in another colour so that the black is a little bit richer. And in this case I'm going to mix a little bit of dark blue. So we have a dark bluey black. Alright. Good night, mate. Thanks for stopping by. Hope to catch you again. What can I sing for you, sir? My go-to recently has been What About Me by Shannon Noll. Yeah, we'll go with that. Well, there's a little boy waiting at the counter of a corner shop. He's been waiting down there, waiting after days. Dreams walk in and now they never stop. He's been pushed around, knocked to the ground. He gets to his feet and he says, what about me? It isn't fair. I've had enough, now I want my share. Can't you see? I want to live. You just take more than you give. What about me? What about me? It isn't fair. I've had enough, now I want my share. Can't you see? I wanna live. You just take more. You just take more than you give. What about me? I like that song. Alright. I think we are making some progress. Okay, broadside, what's happening, champion? Well, that's the question. That's the question we've got to answer, and we can't answer that until we have a look at how he looks on the base with the rest of the stuff happening. Because one of the things I do want him to do is provide a contrast to the rest of the palette, to be very different and tell a different story. So at this stage, we will do some mud and so on. I don't think we'll go crazy. Oh, where are you moving? You moving to Brisbane? Can't do it. Ah, T-bar. Cool. They do. Yes, my mate Koki, whom I was speaking of just before, he grew up in Toowoomba, so quite familiar with the area. Haven't been there in, oh, I was there about 2 years ago. Should do that actually. Okay. The moment has arrived. We are about to bring everything that I've done onto the base for the first time since I started painting. All right. Boom. I'm so excited, and I just can't hide it. No, 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 no. I'm about to lose control, and I think I like it. Here we go. Damn. Bum, 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 bum. Everybody dance now. Do, 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 do. Fucking hell. It's still not all in shot, Deno. Okay. Good. Where is my this dude? Alright, and then Borka goes in the middle. Just be here, so we won't worry about him because he's got nothing on him. just going to bring this light down as well, so you're not going to be able to see my face, friends, but that's probably for the best. Just so you can get a bit better. Alright, so we need to darken the base, which I already knew that bit. And we need to make sure we're doing a lot of tufts of dead grass. The base just is a little bit too, like it's too monotone at the moment, first of all, and it's drawing my gaze away from the figures, so I need to add some dark, potentially even black, just to really emphasize the areas that I want to be emphasized. This area definitely needs to be brighter values, particularly this skin tone here. I need to take that up a little bit higher again. Yeah, dark browns might be the go. Yeah. This guy actually looks really good. I was worried that I was going to have too much of a skin tone discrepancy between these two, but I'm less concerned about that now. Actually, what I think I might do is add more redness to this skin tone as opposed to making this one more thingy, because this is standing out more from the other elements. This sort of gets lost in the metal a little bit. Yeah, so I need more grass elements in and around here. Darker, deep browns, airbrush lots of browns into these areas. Really bring down the overall value of the base. I'm going to do a muddy water to about here. That'll also, if we tone down the base, that'll also help the nurglings stand out more. The little nurglings that we're going to paint to stand around. Yeah, I'm not happy with the metals on this guy, particularly the legs. Need to tweak those. I'm surprisingly happy with this guy. I was hating him as I was painting him the first stream. But yeah, I managed to get that to be something I was excited about. And something I talked about on my stream was that I didn't quite get the visual of this guy right. I thought I was painting him sort of more from this angle as opposed to that front on perspective. I think we'll make this darker as well. So this dude, overall, I don't think I want to add too much spattering or blood effects to him. I think we'll keep him pretty clean looking, because the rest of everything that's going on is pretty messy. I think it will work better to have him just be clean, uniform, and different from everyone else. I don't like this green. What I might do is paint the helmet black and then do a green symbol on it. I'm going to make this hair really bright orange. So then you know, the very first thing you'll see should be this. The orange will also then tie in with the rust. So if that, you'll go bang straight to him, start to come around from there. Just going to check some different angles. So I think that angle's really good, like it in terms of the visual. It's a really cool angle to look at, that you get a really good perspective on him. You see all of this cool detail here. This guy is less interesting, this dude's less interesting. But yeah, this side of the diorama is really cool from that angle. Doesn't really flow right on this direction. You know, you've got a lot of gaps. And so this angle here is one that I'm basically ignoring. I'm going to have this sort of be cold blues, so it's less visual, which I guess means we need to put some cold blues here. Yeah, that's a dog shit angle. Have to make sure we have some nurglings, make that look more interesting. What about? Yeah, I need to get that underside of green. Those bits. Some more green underneath there. Okay, cool. So that was for my benefit. Thank you, Cryptic. That was for my benefit just as much as yours, friends, because I'm at that stage now where I need to have a bit more clarity about each of the different elements as I start to get closer to finishing them. So I have obviously recorded what we just said then, and so I will be able to go back and review it when I'm considering what to do next. Cool. All right. Awesome, team. Well, let's find some champion that we can go and raid, shall we? Any recommendations? Miniature figures. Let's have a look. We've got Dr. Rhino's streaming. Got Mohawk streaming. Warp Zone Wargaming. Zulamundi. PSK Studio. I love Sunday raids because they're always different people that I don't normally check out because they're normally different times. Let's go with PSK is cool, you reckon? Let's go have a look. PSK. I struggle with a 720p source, but I like the cut of this guy's jib. Let's do it. He may be finishing up soon because he's been for longer than me, but we'll just raid on. Raid! Thanks, champions. See you all tomorrow night for Party Monday, perhaps. If you join me. If you don't, that's cool. Raid!
Alright.